Good afternoon. I want to welcome everyone to the City of Little Rock Board of Directors Agenda Meeting for July 9th, 2024. This is our opportunity to review the agenda for our formal board meeting that will be held on July 16th, 2024. Board members, are there any questions on items 1 through 17? Director Miller? See your hand.
Yeah, I tried to get it up. I see that we have a motion to accept the downtown master plan. Will there be any more discussion about the cost of it, or?
What I would say about cost, one, this is the opportunity to discuss it. Two different things I think members of the city board must recall is that it was shared in the downtown master plan, as also for those of us who've been a part of different steering committees. There's a big question about TIF. Well, TIF is already in the state of Arkansas. There have been TIFs in the city of Little Rock. TIF could have an impact on varying degree from a school district standpoint, particularly if it's something that's already existing that is yearning dollars now that are going towards a school district's budget. I want to make certain everyone's aware that right now, if there's a vacant property in the city that is not yielding any property, that's not yielding any extra funds that will go towards a school district. So this will be new dollars, so it wouldn't have any adverse effect on a school district. That's number one. Number two, what the master plan calls for is utilizing TIF and other STAR bonds, what have you. There's a number of different varying degree in different cities and states, that it would require, to get more incentives for developers, it will require a state constitutional amendment. That's at least almost at least 6 months away. And then that would then have to, if something like that was to happen in the January 2025 legislative session, then it would also have to be voted on by the people of the state, I believe. Well, yeah, it would be a state constitutional amendment, so that wouldn't be until November 25. All that being said, this body does, we can influence, we can encourage, but there are a lot of other players in varying degree of the branches of government before we would even take this up. So that's in it from a TIF standpoint, that's at least a year and a half to 2 years away. I don't think we want to wait on something that we can't determine for another year and a half to 2 years. Secondly, other portions of the financing within the downtown master plan is dependent upon if we pass a sales tax or not. Thirdly, there are certain aspects of the downtown master plan that we will have to consider if that's something we want to move forward on as it relates to funds that are available within the city of Little Rock. I would suggest that we probably need to stick with the sales tax, understanding how many other competing things that we have with our general fund budget right now.
Well, thanks for that, Mayor. But certainly one of the things that I was asking Daniel about last week was his general ballpark of what it would take to implement parts of the plan. Of course, you've talked about how it could be, you talked about different items that could go in a capital stack to address some of those, but I don't have any idea of exactly how much it would cost for different parts of it. Notwithstanding the different types of financing methods that you pointed out, which I certainly agree with, but certainly they ought to be able to give us some idea of what it would cost, even in a public-private partnership, even if we got grants, just what it would cost, some idea to implement this thing.
Yeah, I would say for the board members, just understanding finance and looking at the different varying degree projects to get this complete. It's very similar to if Director Honeywell, he can attest to this, that we got $1 billion worth of infrastructure needs in our city. Highly doubt we're going to get that done within the next 2 to 5 years. But we're going to try to make a serious plug in that over the next 10 years with a potential sales tax being passed, as was done in 2011. That being stated, if the board would like a number, and again, this is just based on what I've seen, it's going to be at least 100 million to upwards of 300 million. We did everything in the plan, assuming those other financing mechanisms.
Okay, well, that gives you some idea, because.
So board members, 100 to 300 million, and that's being moderately conservative.
Okay, and certainly one of the line items in the proposed sales tax is, what was that?
In the proposed sales tax, you have, I believe there's $3 million for the river, to help with the River Market renovation. We already got $4 million in the Renew Little Rock bond. You have basically 125 million for the indoor-outdoor sports complex. You got another 10 million for the parking decks. You have 9 million for downtown development. I can keep going, but that's all online. But that's all a part, basically 100 million, a little, actually.
A little more than 100.
Yeah.
So considering,
yeah.
Considering that, then we're talking about maybe another 200 million or so.
Yeah, that's why I said 100 to 300.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. So board members, if someone asks to complete this plan and get a very good chunk of it, somewhere between 100 million to 300 million. All right, next, Director Adcock.
I'm waiting on item 5.
All right. Director Phillips.
Thank you, Mayor. In response to Director Miller's comments about the plan, the way I understand it is this is a guide for us on how we want our downtown to look, so we can make more specific decisions down the road. I don't think we're adopting a plan and say we're going to spend $300 million to do all this, but hey, this is what we want our downtown to look like. And each Tuesday from here until whenever, there may be things for us to do to chip away at the plan. And my conversations with Daniel, when they did these in other places, the municipalities adopted it and then worked with private developers. I mean, obviously the city has a big role in this, and starting to check things off that list. So I'm not looking at it as this whole big, we're trying to eat an entire elephant, right? We got a plan to eat the elephant, but each day, each week, each month, each year, we're taking a bite at a time. And it's not just only on the city of Little Rock as a governmental entity to make this happen, because we're gonna need developers to buy into this. We're gonna need other people to make this work. Somebody may have to sell some of these parking lots that they own that we don't own. So I think it's more than just the city of Little Rock saying, hey, we're gonna adopt a plan and we're gonna spend upwards of $300 million to make it happen. I'm looking at this as a vision for what downtown looks like. And then we're gonna do the things to try to make this happen within city government control. So that's why I think I asked for this last week, Mayor, to put this on the agenda. So that's why I wanted to respond publicly, because I think we should adopt the plan and then do what we need to do each step of the way to kind of make some of these things happen.
I have no problem. I stated last week that I was in favor of adopting the plan.
Okay. I must have missed that. I was online, so.
Yeah. But no, I stated that. I thought, quite frankly, I thought we were probably going to vote on it last week. But again, my questions dealt with cost of implementing parts of it or toll of it. What you said makes perfect sense. That's where I thought about it too.
Okay.
I didn't think once we were going to adopt a plan, then we're saying we're going to spend this much money. No, that
Well,
was.
and I know you didn't, but I know some people have reached out thinking that, so I just wanted to be clear for the public as well.
No, it makes sense. Thanks for that, Director. Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah. Thanks, Mayor.
Director Adcock.
Item 5.
Item 5.
Yes.
We'll ask Director Honeywell.
The motion is going to be a resolution.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you tell us where this is and exactly what you're going to be doing, please?
Is this the 38th Street
38th
project?
Street.
It's working on an area of 38th Street that has some drainage issues. We're going to be rebuilding some cross drains that have failed, doing the curb inlet area inlets again, and then also working on the downstream outfall of that drainage system.
What area?
I'll have to
What
get-
ward is this in, on this part of 38th Street?
Hold on just a second.
I believe Ward 1.
North Polk, whoops, that's the wrong one. But I think it is Ward 1, yes.
It says Ward 1 is,
Yes.
Is it out past the airport area?
That I'll have to get back with you on the exact location of it. I don't know off the top of my head, I apologize.
If you would find it and send me a memo on it, please.
Sure, I'll do that.
Thank you.
next question. Director Miller, is your hand back up?
Yes, sir. I noticed resolution 16 and 17 deal with the chambers at the Little Rock City Hall. There's some changes with the contract. My question is, this does not in any way lengthen while we're projecting when we're going to be in. I think what I've been hearing is that we should be in sometime in August.
Per our city clerk, who has promised herself and me that we'll be having our city board meeting on August the 6th,
Okay.
as long as you all pass this.
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Just a little added motivation, yeah. And serious, before we can get to not to put a cart before the horse, I do want to recognize all the hard work that our city clerk has done to get us to this point. And it's really been a labor of love for her. And we'll share more comments about it later, but definitely don't want to miss the moment to share appreciation. Director Adcox, is your hand still up from?
Yes, item 18, I'd like a presentation, please.
All right, Mr. Jordan.
Item 18 is Z10,000. It's rezoning from C3 and I2 to C3. This is 5924 South University. The property owner requests to rezone the 1.65 acre property to C3 and I2 to C3. The rezoning is requested to allow future commercial use at the property. In their initial letter to us, they stated that they don't have a commercial use picked out yet, but they're still searching for that.
Do we see a plan of that, please, of the lot, where it's located on University?
Where is it on University?
Uh-huh.
It's where the old United Built Homes was. The United Built Homes, the manufactured homes, it has the circular drive in front.
Okay. My problem with that is that backs right up to neighborhoods. There's no buffer in there or anything, so I would like to have more information on what uses they're thinking of, because it does back up to homes on the other side of the street.
Yes, ma'am. We'll engage with the applicant and see if they have yet anything that they have picked out yet. But even as of this morning, they had not.
Okay. Also, right next to that is the, it's supposed to be demolition. There's a vacant lot, and then the old restaurant that is going to be demolished. So is any of this included in that?
This is not included in that, no, ma'am.
Okay, if you would get me the uses, since we want to protect that neighborhood.
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Thank you.
Director Wyatt?
I agree with
Joan, that we need more information on item number 18, but I have questions on 23, if we're ready to go to that direction.
Yes.
Already told Brad I had a lot of questions about item 23. This looks like that they took every kind of use possible and put it into this location. I am happy to improve Baseline Road. There's a lot of land that's there that's ready to be purchased and developed on. But this one, there's a lot of stuff going on in this particular one. We're talking about food courts, we're talking about storage, we're talking about RV storage, we're talking about a kitchen, an open kitchen that you can, I don't know how it works, that you can rent out. So that means that we're gonna have food trucks that are gonna be parked in this location. There's just a lot of uses. It's a lot of land, it's almost 20 acres. But I have to wonder why we had went through the planning commission, there were no comments, no objections to it. And I would like for somebody to tell me why the planning commission and the planning staff think this is perfect for Southwest Little Rock. We're gonna have office warehouse use, commercial storage, open pavilion, concessions, bathroom facilities, food trucks, commissary kitchen, a lot of stuff. It's almost like they figured out all kinds of things just to throw together. They got a 3,600 square foot open space pavilion, 6,400 square foot commissary kitchen. What are we trying to do here?
Yes, ma'am. As we discussed earlier, there are a lot of uses that they're proposing for this site. I can't speak to the Planning Commission and why they voted the way that they voted. Staff felt that this was appropriate for the area since it was undeveloped at the time, or currently undeveloped. And there are a general area of, the general area contains a mixture of uses. So I think that was the general consensus when staff was debating this.
Do you think that, I have to ask, do you think this is a good combination of a mixed-use development to have all of these types of uses on one piece of property? I feel like the neighborhood doesn't know about it because, like you said, there's churches on both sides of it. Across the street is a U-Pullet, but there are neighborhoods that are to the east of here and to the west of here. And I just think it's too many things that most people wouldn't want one of them in their area. So I think we need to hold this separate. And so we can take a better look at it. 11,200 square foot for commercial and RV storage. I mean, we fight about storage places all over the city. Is there any place in the city that we have this mixture of stuff like this is talking about?
Well, all due respect to the ones that I may be forgetting about, but I can't think of one in the city that's comparable.
It's like, okay, I think this is questionable, I'll put it in here. I mean, it's just a whole mixture of stuff that really doesn't seem like it goes together. It's things that I would think most of us in our neighborhoods would have objections to going in. So there's 174 parking spaces. Anyway, it doesn't seem to all fit together. I just think we need to hold this separate.
All right, Director Adcox, your hand's still up?
Yes, I agree with Director Wyrick on this, and I would like to see the information that the planning department received on this,
Yes, ma'am,
the planning commission received on it.
yes, ma'am, I'll send you the
I
file
can't
tomorrow.
understand what how all these uses all fit together on that piece of property.
And I've looked at the sketches that were attached. They're pretty scary too. I
And
don't know if
I would
there's
like
any
to-
other representation that you can give us that make us feel warm and fuzzy about this, but the attachments that are here, it just seems like a lot of mess to me.
And there was no one that showed up at Southwest Ups
No, ma'am.
to discuss this.
No, ma'am, there was not.
I would like this and item 18 both on separate, please. Thank you.
I keep coming up with other questions, I'm sorry, but I thought about this from a health and safety aspect. Who monitors this food court and this kitchen? And how does zoning code, how are they going to look at the different food uses and the things that are going on there? Do y'all have a plan to monitor the use here?
Well, as far as the food court goes, I think the health department would probably monitor a whole lot of that. Maybe I'm not understanding your question fully. If there's anything untoward or anything happening at the location, if it does get passed and open, if there's any issues, then, our code enforcement officers would be involved. But
But
in
if
food
it's
preparation,
full-
I don't believe so.
I'm sorry.
No, ma'am, you go ahead.
If it's full of trucks, food trucks, I know from a code enforcement standpoint, we used to look at it to make sure they had health papers and maybe something else. Is the city responsible for that? Are we
Yeah,
gonna,
we still do require that. We still do
Would you-
require that documentation.
would you not have to do that for this location? And are these permanent locations for food trucks? Are they gonna be in and out? How's that gonna work? Are they charging for the spot?
Yeah,
Is
I
it
think
just
that
willy-nilly
I think
they come
it's
in?
just like sort of normal food court developments. They rent slots for a week, a month, however long, and then they'll move out, and then Arena's Kitchen will move in.
So
or
you're gonna
whatever.
go there every week and make sure they got health paper?
They will have to come and have a peddler's agreement done. They'll have to have a business license. They'll have to have,
Each one of these food trucks will
any,
have to have?
every food truck has to have that.
Seems like a lot to try to manage to me. Do you know how many food trucks? Did it say in here how many food trucks? I don't recall. There's just a lot of questions about what's going on in this one parcel of land. And like I said, I'm happy that there's development on Baseline Road, but this is just a hodgepodge of things that are questionable in most neighborhoods.
Yes, ma'am. And it does say that the food truck court will be rentable spaces and will not be enclosed. Food truck will be dependent on the tenant's availability for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Will operate from 6 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. That was the
Does it
information
say
they
how
gave us
many-
about the food
how
trucks.
many trucks?
It does not say,
Okay.
but I can provide that information as well.
There's 174 parking spaces, I think, that I read here. You think it's going to be 174 food trucks? Or is that why would they need 174 parking spaces?
Let's just get Director Wyrick the information. We got it separate and
It
Director-
says that the proposed parking for the site is ample. Ample for what? I don't know. Food trucks, people? I don't know what we're expecting to happen here. How does that kitchen work?
Right.
I I don't know. There's a lot of questions.
All right, Director Ed Phillips.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to highlight a couple of things in light of Director Wyrick's comments. One, I know we have multiple food truck courts throughout the city that seem to operate pretty well with trucks coming and going on, some periodic back wire. I know it's happening in other places and seem to be working out well. And as it relates to the commissary kitchen, I know there was one that was located on Markham where I think small business, small restaurant owners rent out the space for a certain period of time where you can go and make food, sell food in a commercial location. And one of the success stories from that place on Markham is Certified Pies, which started in its commissary kitchen, grew a great following, and then bought a building or leased a building right next door where now they have a standalone restaurant that started in a commissary kitchen. So I know we have those throughout the city in response to what Brad said that has been successful in helping us start businesses. And obviously when we start more businesses, more tax revenue, and the more tax revenue, the more we can do those nuts and bolts things that Director Wyrick likes to do. So I know those things are happening. This is a big one, probably bigger than anything else we've done, but we've done them in other places that seem to be successful and led to small businesses growing and being established. So I just want to share that with my colleagues and for those watching online.
It sounds like you're supportive of this.
I think so. And I know in Southwest Little Rock, I think this is the area across from what I grew up going to, the go-kart,
Yes,
right across the street from there, right, Brad?
yes, sir.
And it's wooded over there, so not a lot of development.
Yes, sir. It's wooded right now.
Right, so I am supportive of more development in that regard. There's not a lot of houses over there, so we're not interrupting any single-family homes right there on that part of the baseline.
There are some single-family homes. This is closer to the highway department.
I thought Brad just said that it was closer to the go-kart place.
Sorry, I must be mistaken, Director Wyrick. Have you?
I think it's across from where you pull it is.
Okay.
There's a sign up there. There's a sign. There's any zoning going on, which I mentioned that to you, but there is
Right.
a for sale sign there, 20 acres, and it's almost across from where that you pull it is, which is it's going to be just west of that neighborhood that's up there, which is part of my targeted neighborhood area. And then the next big thing that you see is the highway department and the access road to get on I-30. It's not down by 43rd. Unless I'm wrong.
I think we're talking about the same general area,
Right.
that strip.
It's
'Cause
a-
as
it-
I
it
understood,
just-
it was closer to the I-30, 430 exchange, right, Brad?
It
According to the map.
just says location, South Side Baseline Road, 10600 block.
Right, there you go.
There it is.
There's the map.
It's closer to the highway department.
Well, yes, ma'am. That's all I had, Mayor.
Director Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to make sure that I understand what I'm looking at when I pull up these different sketches. Sketch 1 is the overall development that we're talking about. That includes everything here, and then these other sketches are individual buildings. Is that what I'm looking at here?
Yes, sir. Can we get that pulled up, Ashley?
So that's sketch 1 right there, right?
Yes, sir.
That's the overall development.
Yes, sir.
And so where would the food trucks be?
I really don't know where they are. That's part of my
Mhm.
question. There's 174 parking places. Where are the food trucks? What are these parking places for?
Hey, John, you want to come up?
It's in the northwest corner.
Northwest.
Is that my
Yeah.
right hand? It's my left.
Glad you know.
Isn't that by that little car thing that you put your kids in?
No.
Okay. That's the northwest corner right
Yes,
there
sir.
that's zoomed
It's
in on.
labeled food truck court.
Before you get to that little cartwheel thing?
And these concession bathrooms, restrooms, those are going to be open and locked at night, or maybe that's maybe a question for the developer, I don't know.
Yeah, I would hope they would be. I could see some issues if they weren't.
So the pavilion is just covered in the food truck court. Trucks would be lined up around this area?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, I'm just trying to find out what I'm looking at here. And then these other sketches are the buildings themselves, sketch 2? What is that?
That's the, I believe that's the elevation of the pavilion.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I believe that's the pavilion.
Storage buildings.
In sketch 3, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm looking at here on these different sketches.
It may be, for those who have iPad, it's definitely an easier view if you just go to Google Maps and just put in 1600 block. It'd be a lot easier for you that way.
Yeah, the sketches that is in this presentation we're looking at. I can look at it some more for Tuesday.
Yeah, Brad, if you'll just get with Directors Wyrick and Miller, and any additional information they may need to review that the Planning Commission reviewed. Do appreciate what Director Phillips shared about what's happened in other areas of the city regards this is quite large, but that land is vacant.
I'd like to have a copy of the information you get for them too, please.
Yes, ma'am. I will do.
All right. Director Phillips, your hand's still up? Is that? No, no, all right. Any more questions on Director Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. I had a question on ordinance number 24 of the, I see now that the synopsis for 24 is the same as 23, so I know that was a mistake now. It's a question I'd had about it, but again, that just needs to be redone. And I got a question about number 24. Of course, it's over in the Central High area. Is this different from, I mean, we looked at one presentation, I think we voted down because of parking issues or so. It was,
Can't remember. Mr. Jordan?
do you remember, maybe it was a couple of months ago, this seems similar to this, where it's it's a duplex and then a garage apartment in the back?
Yes, sir. This is, the applicant is proposing to rezone the .16 acre site from R4 to PDR to construct a two-family residence duplex in the front portion of the property and a detached garage that will contain a third unit in the rear portion of the property. The site is currently undeveloped. Properties in the general area contain a mixture of zoning and uses in all directions. The two-family
recall-
duplex, excuse me?
I'm sorry, go right here, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. The two-family duplex and detached garage containing the third unit in the rear will be accessed from the alley in the rear property lines. It's the primary vehicular access to the proposed garages in the backyard will be from an existing public alley running east to west from Jones Street north to the north property line of the lot. the public alley will be required to be reconstructed by the developer per city standards.
Do you recall similar requests for rezoning that was similar to this and it got voted down? I hate to ask Director Phillips if he remembers that, but I think we had some discussion about it.
I do remember having a discussion, Director Miller, but I think if it's the same in the past, when it's been the same development, it's noted in the write-up, and I didn't see it in the write-up. I'm assuming it's different, but I don't know that from the city manager or the mayor whether that's the case. So when I don't see it in the write-up that it's something that we dealt with before, then I'm assuming it's a different project.
Yeah,
That's kind of how I look at things.
yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because I think it is different. But I'm somewhat supportive of this, and I'm trying to figure out why I didn't support the other one.
I can't help you tell you why you didn't support something before, Director.
No, it was, there was some discussion about, had to deal with parking. I think there was some parking issues. This one doesn't appear to have the same issue
No,
with parking.
sir, there doesn't seem to be any parking issues. It's access from the back. It says on-site parking, access from the alley in the rear of the property shows parking for as many as 5 vehicles, 2 in the garage, 2 in the driveway, and 1 on the parking pad. And so there's and also they list additional 5 along 18th Street. So they're stating that the total parking spaces will be 10.
Okay, thank you. I think it is different. I think the issues are different on this one, as I recall.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it may have been a parking issue.
Yes, thank you.
Any questions on items 25 through 29? Any questions on items 25 through 29? Your hand up, Director.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I'm having an issue. I can't get my video up over here. Are we completed with the agenda?
Yeah, we're gonna go into sales tax, but if you want to do something.
Yeah, I've already given this to the city manager and city attorney. I want to pass it out to my fellow directors. These are the 2 ordinances that I told you I would be bringing forward to recognize the FOP and the International Association of Firefighters as the collective bargaining units. And I would like them added to the agenda if it's appropriate. If not, we can push them to the agenda in 2 weeks.
What'd you say, Director Hines?
I said, I'd like to add them to this agenda. I think I've given notice and requirement on this. If not, we can add them to the agenda in 2 weeks.
Well, we will, because you did make that now, I know we just now, I think you had some changes.
Right. Yeah,
Well,
we had some Scrivener stuff. And
Yeah, I'm about
There's-
trying to,
there's 2 copies. I've kind of,
are they one page?
they're each 1 page. They're front and back.
I don't know. While we're doing that, are there any questions on the sales tax? I asked everyone we went over a myriad of questions. You got a question?
I have my hand up before we get to sales tax, after Director Hines.
Oh, I'm sorry, go.
Oh, are we not waiting on, oh, we're passing that up, okay. Ashley has passed out some pictures, and if you all would indulge me, I promise I'm going to try to be brief. This pertains to Walnut Valley, which I would bet was the hardest hit neighborhood 15 months ago during the tornado. On a good note, Chief Hubbard shared with me some architectural drawings for the new fire station. The neighborhood's incredibly excited about that. Although there are some real challenges here that I've been trying to get some city help with, and I'm a little bit frustrated. I do want to thank Acting City Manager Emily Cox. She's been extremely helpful, and I hope we're going to be able to address some of these things. You've got some pictures of some sidewalks. I know that sent this to Director Honeywell, and some of these are on Breckenridge that I think we can address. Some are on Shackleford near Access Schools and going through the neighborhood that is got lots and lots of kids on bikes, lots of walking traffic, and Director Honeywell explained that FEMA wouldn't cover these things. It was up to the owner. I know that the sidewalks weren't actually damaged during the tornado, but I think they were damaged when the Entergy trucks were there putting poles up, contractors were in cleaning debris, the FEMA trucks. At any rate, you can see the state of the sidewalks, and I know we have sidewalk issues across the city, but this is a very heavily populated neighborhood, and I need some help here. Emily's working with the Emergency Management Office, and hopefully we'll be able to get some relief there. That's one issue. There's another picture of a debris pile. There's a lot of illegal dumping going on. This particular picture is at a cul-de-sac next to a brand-new house that somebody's trying to sell, and that's just a lovely image that is impeding the possibility of that sale. And ironically, it's right across the street from firefighter Clint Travis, who some of you may know. He recently won the Humanitarian Award for Little Rock firefighters because he was so incredibly helpful, and is finally back in his house 13 months after the tornado, and that's what he looks at. I'm imploring, begging, pleading that we can't do something to help Walnut Valley with some of these issues because it's demoralizing for these people that have chosen to build back and stay there to deal with the illegal dumping and some other things. There's still a rash of break-ins. It's almost daily. I've reached out to the Northwest Patrol Division. I believe they have been as helpful as they can, considering staffing. But I get images from Ring cameras all the time where, broad daylight, high noon, somebody goes to check on the construction of their home, and in 2 seconds, somebody's in and out of their car with their laptop and purse or keys or whatever. There are companies that are trying to make a quick buck. They're buying up lots all over the place and then doing nothing. I'm glad the city's posting now. They just started doing that yesterday, and I think there's an image of one of those. That lot happens to be a woman that has decided not to rebuild, and she's asking, what do I need to do? How can I afford to clean this up? I know that some of the companies that are buying some of these are posted and some aren't. And I know that the residents of Walnut Valley would like to see something consistent and would really like to get some help from the city on these things that we don't usually address. So I'm begging, I'm pleading about the illegal dumping and the sidewalks.
Thank you, Director Pack. We'll make certain that all of that is followed up on.
Thank you.
Director Hines, I'm going to ask the city attorney a couple of questions. One, I do know before we make the decision on how do we put this forward, because there's some significant changes that I did a quick read.
I've given away all my copies.
Oh,
Sorry.
and I first want to state, as a sitting mayor that has signed contracts for the past 5.5 years for both unions, any of this comments has nothing to do with the union. It has everything to do with how we do business as a city, because as the sitting mayor that's approved several different union agreements with both the FOP and the IFFF. So I want to state that first. But as it relates to how we do business as a city, Mr. Attorney, and this is from a legal standpoint, help explain Section 2, because the city has an MOU agreement That will expire in 2024, and we'll work towards a new agreement as we always done. And we already recognize the unions. I'm assuming that the director wants to memorialize what's already been done, which we support, have no issue with that. Before we go to section 2, what I disagree with as a mayor who has signed the agreements is section 4, when it says there's an impasse as required by state law, the city will not, they say the city will not approve a budget. We've never been held to our budget approval based on our union agreements. Now, we always get to it, but we have a whole entire team that we have to focus on as relates to payroll and things of that nature. So I don't want us to be held hostage in the middle of union agreements that take time. Mr. Attorney. And I want to say this also to Director Hines. I don't want to have to issue a veto. I want to find something we all can work with because we already have a union agreement today.
Right.
And
I'd just like to state for the record that, you know, as the policy setting body, as a policy setting organization within the city government, that this is something that I was asked a long time ago when I first ran for office, that would I support bringing an ordinance like this to recognize the unions. I feel that we've got a longstanding agreement, but I don't think we've really had I think this tells a lot to our sworn members and the fire service and our police service that the city board, as the policymaking, has officially recognized this. And I certainly don't want to curtail any negotiating powers, and we will bring this up in section 4. But it has been used in the past as a negotiating tactic with our unions. So I think the addition to this is we really can't set our city budget until those contracts are worked out anyway. So I don't know why it creates an issue. We've got until the end of January per state statute to pass our budget.
And I will share, it is an issue because when both myself and the city manager and acting city manager, when we work with our CFO, we have to do certain things in order. And it is a negotiation. We're negotiating against those who may want more and others who are also part of the team who may want more. And we do a lot for both police and fire. Again, I've signed everyone, but this does handcuff and could have some downstream ripple effects for non-union employees. And that's half of our employee base are non-union. And it will create some significant handcuffs. And I do not want to have to veto something, particularly with our police and fire. So I'm just asking that we take section 4 out with the understanding that I'm going to do my darndest always to sign the contract. I think I've shown that over the past 5.5 years that I've gotten that contract done. And quite frankly, that the officers haven't received the type of raises in its history with you all support these last 5.5 years. But it does create, from a management standpoint, a significant issue. I do not want to have to veto this. Secondly, I do want to make, for the record, it doesn't state this, but I also want to be very transparent. We mandate in the MOU right now that members of, and I'm going to state it because it doesn't state it now, and so might as well get it out here, that members of the Black Police Officer Association and the Black Firefighters Association, they are part of the negotiation team, separate and apart from who's recognized as the bargaining unit, but they are at the table. I hope this is not an end run to get that done, because I won't sign anything if they're not at the table. And so I want to make sure, I'm just calling it out because I can't see it right here. We just got it today, so we got the attorney. But when I see section 4, that raises my eyebrows for other things.
There was no intention to exclude anyone, and I think all the parties agree that they're at the table, so.
Thank you for that. But going back to section 4, Mr. Attorney?
Well, if I can go to that question right now, the second recital points out that IAFF and FOP have been the entities that have been bargaining, but it also points out that they represent a substantial majority of their various departments, and they include a diverse team on the negotiating committee. I think if there's,
Can I interrupt just for a second? The second recital is the second whereas clause. That's what Tom was referring to. I just wanted to make sure that the rest of the board understood that. They're the same, but the
on
second
the first
whereas
page,
clause.
line 15, of the one that deals with the police, and the first page on line 16, the one that deals with firefighters. But what I was going to say is that, you know, if we wish to make that even clearer, we can add to section 1 language to the effect of, and give me the chance to make sure it all works out grammatically, so long as they include a diverse team of on the negotiating committee, and then actually put that into the section of the ordinance. If there's no objection to that, I can get that done.
I have no objection to it.
So yeah, if you'll put that members of Black Police Officers Association, and Flame is what they're actually called for firefighters. They're a part of that bargaining unit as well.
I don't want to create problems, but if I put diverse members, then it doesn't matter what they call themselves in the future.
No, I would, as of right now, this is what we have, so I wouldn't,
Okay,
needs to put those two organizations in there.
all right.
But are you amenable to striking section 4, Director Hines? I want to try to get this on the agenda as quickly as possible, so.
Well, I'd like some thoughts from our, and if we need to let this cure for 2 weeks and talk about it, I have no issue with that either.
But I would love, yeah, we can cure for 2 weeks, but I don't mind.
I mean, and I'm coming at this from a position, Mayor, where, you know, we have had this hold us up in the past, and this predates your term as mayor, where it's held up our budgeting process in the past because it's hard to pass a budget when your two biggest cost drivers within that budget, the firefighters and the police, don't have their contracts finalized and what those pay raises are going to be or not be.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you stating that.
And I don't think it talks about if an impasse is being declared and if the impasse has been mutually resolved. You know, I think we've got some other, if it hasn't been resolved, then there's I think we've got some, I'm not an attorney, but we got 2 in the room, maybe 3. Tom, does it not, and we've got other things that wouldn't necessarily prevent us from passing a budget and violating state law. So,
The board has to pass the budget by the 1st of February by state statute. It has to pass it before the 31st of December by current city ordinance. This would take the place of that. So what this effectively says is, if we're negotiating and if we have an impasse, we will take it to the limit before we will not have a negotiated agreement.
And the reason, Director Hines, and again, I want to share your appreciation for pointing out that this has never been done in my 5.5 years. I get that. But there could be someone else in this seat who literally, when people can get loggerheads and go to the brink, and has a greater impact on our employees. The reason why I bring this up is not about the police and fire, it's about our non-union employees right now. I just think if we strike that, we can get this on the agenda and we're ready to rock and roll.
okay, I'll be amenable to striking that portion.
Thank you so much. Director Hines will strike section 4. We'll add in the section, the recital that has the diverse, we'll change that to the 2 Black organizations. And I think we're ready to get this on the agenda.
Mayor, not to seem contrarian, but if we relegate it to any Black organizations, we've excluded any other future organizations might come up representing any other diverse minorities.
I don't think you're being contrary, however, but I do think there are 2 distinct organizations from a period of time at this point, and I think this city board, when there's an Asian Pacific Islander organization or a Hispanic organization, the city board would amend it to add them, but they haven't been formalized yet.
Well, I mean, I think Tom's language is a lot more open-ended, but
I would tell you that board members are going to get more phone calls between now and Tuesday about those 2 organizations not being included in written form.
well, okay.
I'm just trying to be helpful so we can get this passed.
No problem.
Director Hines has no problem with changing that to add the Black Police Officers Association and Little Rock Flame. He also agrees to striking Section 4. Director Phillips, your hand's up.
I think Vice Mayor Webb's hand was up before mine.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Phillips. A couple of questions, or one comment and then one question. I would ask that we start working to get the dates for the budget discussion on our calendar. And sometimes we kind of wait till the last minute. And if we could have a conversation about that.
Our new CFO surprised me a week or so ago. He shared with our acting city manager and myself that it's his goal to start budget discussions in this month, is what and I said, I pushed back. But, and that's full transparency. But I would say we're gonna try to do it. The focus is the sales tax right now. I would say we would love to start. We normally start in mid-September, but we're gonna try to push it up to August.
Thank you. And then one question. And the last time this question was raised, we went into executive session, and I'm not asking that. I'm just asking for a status update on where we are in the process with the city manager.
Sure, we can go into can we go in we can go in executive session here?
I wasn't asking for
Executive
that.
session now because you're not in a real meeting.
Yeah, but definitely, I'll give you an update as soon as possible. Director Phillips?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. This is just as it relates to the ordinance for the firefighters. I think Section 1 refers to police officer and police sergeants. So I'm sure that's supposed to be firefighters.
Yeah, maybe a
Fire sergeant.
Scribner's on that.
So I just want,
Firefighters up to the rank of captain, that was what we were having to catch.
And so Director Phillips, since you've already looked at it, where would the location for Flame be on this document? What recital?
well, I'm sorry, I was not clear, Mayor. On the one that's dealing with the firefighters bargaining unit on Section 1, line 29 and line 30, it identifies police officer and police sergeants. And I think that should identify the actual ranking members of the fire department and not police officers. That was my comment, Mayor. And if I understood the city attorney correctly, the conversation about Flame would be in the second whereas clause. And then the conversation about the BPOA would be in the second whereas clause for the separate agreement for the police
That's
department.
true, it's to that, but they will also be added to Section 1 because the recitals can be used for interpretation, but they aren't controlling the section, it's what controls.
Understood.
And I thought I caught all of them. If you'll look at the second recital on the firefighters, we caught the language from the current agreement, which is Little Rock firefighter employees up to and including the rank of captain. That's what's covered by Flame, or by IAFF Local 34.
Yep.
And then you'll strike Section 4 as well on the fire.
I've got it written down here 3 times with a star.
All right. I think we,
And these will go out, I guess, Friday to the board officially with the final language.
and with Director Hines agreed upon changes, Director Hines will get that on the agenda for next week for a vote. Thank you so much for your willingness to work on those changes.
Thank you.
Before, I do want to I want us to have a special moment, so please don't hurry out. Once we finish with the sales tax, just want to,
Mayor, I've got my hand up.
I apologize, I did not see your hand up. Yes, ma'am.
As we was leaving here last week, there was a young man out in the parking lot, and he stopped me and wanted to talk about some of the problems out of sanitation. He told me that they was not bringing people in with the temperature 105. He told me also that young men were still being asked to follow the landscape, the stuff hanging out of the trucks and throwing it up on the trucks, the yard waste. Also, he told me that several of the trucks had air conditioners that was not operating. And so the employees was being asked to sit right beside the motor in a truck without air conditioning in that temperature. I would like for you and staff to check on it to find out why we have trucks in that condition and how many trucks do we have. He said several of the trucks was broken down, not working, and I would like to know why. We've talked so much about police cars and fire trucks and everything, but I would like to have an update on our sanitation trucks.
Sure, we'll get with Director Honeywell. We'll get you a write-up.
Okay, and I would like to immediately have someone talk to the staff out there about employees working in the high temperatures and in walking behind the trucks.
Yeah, I think there may have been an issue of discrepancy with what you heard. Not saying that did not happen. I think it may have been some confusion, but we do know when it hits 105 index, they're to be pulled away. So we'll get that rectified.
I believe that you walked up as I was talking to the young man.
Yeah, and I've talked to Director Honeywell. I believe it's already been rectified, but.
Okay, and he was expecting you to call him, so I would appreciate if you would also call him and tell him.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the board, I know we had a long session, last few sessions in regards to sales tax. I would ask if you all had additional questions, we'll get those answered. Are there any, did not receive anything, any additional questions?
I sent you an email today with some additional questions.
All right. Well, could you ask them now, because I didn't see that, so I can answer them now? I mean, when did you send that?
I can ask a couple of them off the top of my head.
Yeah, let me find out. Because I don't have an email from you, so. Yeah, I don't have any email from you. But if you can ask a couple off the head. Was it anything dealing with the changing of the numbers?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ask those questions?
And in my, in the list of questions that I sent last week, I had some suggestions about that, about adding money for infrastructure and adding money for housing. But I also, in the questions I sent, and I'll check that, Mayor, when I get home and make sure I didn't send the wrong address. I asked, based on Chief Helton's answer to one of the questions last week, when we found out that we had dropped to 5th instead of being first in salaries, if we thought there would be enough money in the regular budget to cover whatever increase we would have to have, or we needed to make another adjustment in the operating portion of the sales tax. That was one question. And I'm going to go out again on the limb on money for infrastructure. I know I had a text at about 6:15 this morning from a constituent who's never had drainage or street issues before, and then I got texts all morning from other people I don't normally hear from, and yes, that was an unusual event last night, but we're having the 100-year rains and the 50-year rains that we used to have are coming a lot more frequently, and so I will once again make a plea for more infrastructure dollars. And then one of the other questions I had was, as I have been out in the neighborhoods and meeting with neighborhood organizations in Ward 3 from north to south and east to west, the main thing I have gotten is they want more specificity. And to say we want 15 million for this or 20 million for that with the lack of detail that a lot of the, and the way a lot of the questions were answered is not what I'm hearing from them that they want to see from us. And I think all of us have the same goal, and the goal is to pass the best document we can, so it's going to pass at the polls. And then the other final question I remember off the top of my head is I think a lot of us got a call from LRCVB last week, and I think they're planning on running something. I don't think we talked about this much last week, but they're planning on reissuing the bonds in November, and I wonder about a negative effect that might have. Two things, confusing, whatnot, so I wanted to bring that up so we at least have had some discussion about that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. A few different things. Going first, we did share at this, I can't remember which board meeting that had just recently happened. I think it passed at the LRCVB's at least a month ago. So the board was made aware of it. I do know, I'm pretty certain that Director Phillips has talked to a few different board members who pay attention to a lot of the LRCVB stuff about that. But that's all a part of the sales tax plan too, because if you'll recall, LRCVB they are refunding their bonds to make updates to the First Security Bank amphitheater and other River Market things. So it is a team effort. We want them to do this because if you recall, there are certain cities in our state, as well as other states, that are getting concert opportunities, that are outside concert venue opportunities that we're missing out on. The reason why we're missing out on those opportunities is because while our amphitheater in the mid-90s and early 2000s was great, it's now becoming outdated. And so promotional acts and their agents are requiring certain things from an infrastructure standpoint. It could be air-conditioned rooms with couches, what have you. And I'm using that as a very simple example. But we have to update the amphitheater if we want to see it grow and have more participation and acts and opportunities like in other cities. So when someone asks you, well, why we don't have this in Little Rock? Well, we got to pay for it. So that's a part of that process. And so LRCVB will be campaigning with the city of Little Rock, not only because of the refunding, but because about $100 million that we just shared of the downtown master plan is included, as well as the city board did $4 million for renovations for the River Market. We got $3 million, so that's a total of $7 million going into the River Market area to completely renovate that. So it's one team. It won't be two different messaging. It'll be all one messaging together. So that hopefully that answers that first question. Members, Director Webb, I've heard differently, but we all talk to different people, and that's not an issue. We have more information than ever. We've answered all those questions. We can only answer the questions that we're asked, and the staff gives the answer. That's the answer. And so this opportunity has more details than ever. Everything's online. We got pages of detail. We do have to come to a point that we have to move forward. And so what I haven't heard, and I haven't heard yet, and it'll also get to a point if we don't move forward that we may not even move forward in the first place because we won't have enough time to campaign. So it's kind of a chicken and an egg. We got to make some decisions, and I'm trying to get us there as best as possible. So that's on the detailed portion of your question. I don't know if they got some extra questions, let us know. We'll get them rapid fire to them and send them to me or to Emily or to whoever the respective person. We want to make sure we give them a concierge service. We turned around, a lot of questions.
Thank you.
And all those if they're not online, they will be online shortly. If they haven't been already posted, I believe they are being worked on to be online. So I think that answers your question on detail. We're going to continue to give more detail. And there's some detail, I would say this, until we get the money or know what we're going to get, we can't move forward. So third question. Oh, as you shared on some of your questions on the funding, I think as Director Campuris shared, our goal as a city board was to resolve an issue with police and fire with the sales tax, which we have done in the current sales tax reiteration. and to completely change the infrastructure. We got $1 billion needs. We just got to keep chipping away at it. And I think Director Campiris gave a very eloquent explanation on what we should do, and many of you all agreed. And so I don't foresee making any more changes to the plan. Now, the board is welcome to make amendments, but as you know, when you make those amendments, you got to take from somewhere. There's a lot of calculation. We can do that, but I know the ones that you've asked for, and we've had that discussion, and you have shared that you understood where it probably would go. But we know that, so I don't have to say that. But outside of Director Webb, who had some specific changes, and you all are aware of Director Webb's changes. You all have shared with her where you all are. Are there any other changes to the numbers? Because what I would like to do, per your approval, of course, is to put this on the agenda for July 16th, and we vote on it so we can start the educational process. The deadline, so everyone's aware, we have to call the election by August the 26th. That's the last date. The last city board meeting that we can take that action was August 20th. I guess we could call it one on August the 25th if we want to take it to the brink. But that's the reason why. We've been discussing this for quite some time. We've gotten a lot of details. I have not heard any additional, outside of Director Webb, I haven't heard of any additional changes that need to be made to the numbers. Director Miller, Director Phillips, you got any additional changes?
Director Peck had her hand up, Mayor.
Oh, she did, I'm sorry. Director Peck?
Thank you. This is not specific, and you're not going to like what I have to say, but
That's fine.
but I'm going to say it anyway to everybody. So I know we all travel in different circles. I have an unusual job in that I see people from every single ward pretty much every day. I had a little fundraiser a couple of weeks ago. 157 people signed in, and I think there were probably 200 people there. And I would say out of that number, about 30 people demanded some information about the sales tax. That's okay. That's what I'm here to try to answer. Some of the questions that I got, constituents or not constituents, we don't have enough nuts and bolts. We all want these shiny new things, and don't think that I'm not a visionary. Believe it better, I'm with you. I want to see this, but I want to.
Did you just say believing better?
I did, because that's,
Okay.
you were Mr.
Just want to
Believing
make
Better.
sure everybody heard it.
No, because I like it. Believing better, it's great.
Oh.
And I believe in better. I have a crutch if you need it. You need a crutch? Okay, so Miss Nuts and Bolts over here, the overwhelming thing that I heard from people all over, we want these shiny new things. We have a few questions about them, but we don't have enough in infrastructure. We need to address some of these things so people will feel good about what we already have. Another comment that I got was, okay, the sports complex. I think you know that I'm very supportive of the sports complexes. I've been part of that discussion for 20 years since I served on the A&P Commission. People want to know where it is. How do we know how much it's going to cost? I know that piece came right before the last of the community meetings. And I know we've been out to the community, but that was on the tail end, and we have some schematics, but we don't really know how much it's going to cost or really where the ball fields are going to be. People want to know about that. Another question I got was questions were about parks, about do we have enough to maintain our older beloved parks? Everybody's excited about reimagining Heinemann and War Memorial, but I would like to have a master plan. You know, I mean, Leland is incredibly talented and creative, but we don't really know what those parks are going to look like. We don't have a master plan yet. The public feels like they're being rushed. I understand the deadline, Mayor, I do. And the other question I have, you know, when Rebuild the Rock failed, we tried to go after it again. We didn't really have enough time. And I think I had conversations with you, Director Phillips, and maybe with you, Mayor, about the possible difficulty of a November election and how a special election, a May election, might be easier, especially considering it's going to be a polarizing and divisive election. I am wanting personally to take a step back to really flesh everything out so the public feels invested, so we can be super specific and not feel rushed and not fail again so we can pass this, because I want these things. But I'm hearing major, I don't know, no. So that's my 2 cents.
No, thank you for sharing. And you're right, we all travel in different circles. What I've heard is that we have more information than ever before. What I've heard is we're tired of seeing other things in other cities that we don't have. What I've heard is that thank you for focusing on, and when I say thank you to all of us, for focusing on quality and life and place, because that's how our city can grow. That's what our residents want. And so you're gonna hear something, Director Webb's gonna hear something you don't know until the vote. There's nothing much more to flesh out, and even other things that you want to have fleshed out as relates to, we gotta have money. And until we get the money, we know exactly there's nothing that we discuss that is completely master plan. You all are gonna approve some cost overruns, I believe, to several different things that we've done over a period of a year. That's just part of the process with construction and master planning, but we generally know how much things are gonna cost. We do expect that there's gonna be a cost overrun. You all approve cost overruns for many different projects. When I hear delay, I hear that's a denial to the people, because as you all, here's the thing. I know my home area gets flooded, right? Director Wyrick, I know there are several areas that we get. Ms. Bingham calls us about different areas that when it rains really hard, forget a Hurricane Beryl, it rains hard, things get flooded. This is the money we have now. We need additional money to do the work. So I answered that same question with infrastructure and with parks. If we don't do this for parks now, I mean, I don't know how better well to tell you than what Leland just told us. We're doing everything on the skin of our chinny chin. So waiting means more no's for things that you just asked about. You got an issue right now that we can't go do it tomorrow because we don't have the money.
I realize that.
I mean,
I just want it to
yeah.
pass. I'm giving you feedback from
No,
the business community, not from just my constituents, and I'm simply giving you feedback.
Right, and
I want to support it. I do support it. I just want to make sure that we have the votes in the community to pass it, and I'm concerned we don't.
I believe we have it. I believe we'll win it in November, as long as everybody on this city board is supportive and active. But we can choose not to do it, but choosing not to do it, choosing to wait, is status quo. And
I would never choose not to do it. My proposal was to do it in May.
Well, I don't think we can even wait to May with some of the stuff we got going on. And again, we talked about this last year, so it's not something new. This is not new. I told everyone we announced February 23. Tornado happened March 31st of 23. We tried to get things started back up in July. So now we're a whole year later. We've been talking about this for a year. Those who may present that, they probably weren't gonna vote for it in the first place. Some. But it's about getting the number of votes that we need to invest in our city's future. So I do know you are a supporter, so I know you're giving feedback, same as Director Webb, but we
I'm
can't.
really the messenger.
Yeah, yeah.
honestly.
Oh, right, that's why.
It's true.
Right, and I agree with that.
I'm a really good listener, and
Yeah.
this is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and I would say we can't afford not to go after it.
Can we, well, okay, all right.
No, we can't afford to go to May.
I know, but we can't afford to
Lose it.
not pass either.
Right. We can't, and I love a situation when you can't afford to lose. That means that we're all gonna work extra hard to make certain we win. I love that situation every day. All right. Director Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. Certainly, I am very supportive of trying to secure extra funds to get this city where we all want it to be, and certainly in the form of a sales tax. Let me tell you what some of the information, some of the feedback I've been getting. We had certain projects that we were going to do in certain neighborhoods. Certainly when the late city manager, Bruce Moore, and several department heads, we went out specifically to some areas. and told the residents we were going to do this work. Some of it was drainage work. This work hadn't been done yet. And I'm getting feedback about, look, you said you were going to do this work. It hadn't been done. Hadn't even been scheduled to be done. And now we're talking about trying to put on some more projects and with the sales tax, which certainly I'm supportive of, but we have got to do what we say we're going to do. People have got to trust that we're going to do that. Certainly with the previous sales tax, and for whatever reasons, some projects weren't done. And I understand that. I've been here long enough to know why the courthouse wasn't done, the municipal courthouse wasn't done at the time.
Talking about the 2011.
2011, yeah. And so that's what I've got to answer to with certain constituents who we had made on-site visits, said we were going to do this work, and it hadn't been done. And now we're coming back and saying, trust us on this one too. So I need some help with that.
I can add one. I can't attest for any promises committed in 2011 that weren't fulfilled. As the leader, became leader in 2019, it's my job to make certain that any promises that were made by this city board, by any executive leadership prior to my arrival, is to get it done. And so if there's any promises that have been made to folks, if you'll let me know those specific projects. I do know Mr. Honeywell sent out a list, and there are projects still from 2011 still being done today. So I wouldn't say they weren't met. And if they haven't been done, it's because of construction, supply and demand, architect planning, engineering, things of that nature. But I believe most of that 2011 stuff is coming up because I know there are some things that Director Wyrick has that's in 24 is just getting started, but she made the vote in 2011. So I don't want to, I want to protect you all because that would be saying that you all made a promise in 2011 that was not committed. And I know you all would not want that to be said. So you all didn't do that. What I am saying is it's our job to make certain that any of the 2011 promises are not only made and kept, but done expeditiously as best we can. Just like some of the things that are being done. I can attest, as long as I'm the leader of this city, I'm going to always make certain that we keep our word and go above and beyond. And I know the previous administration of the city felt that same way, but we also have to understand, and so what I would share with you when you get some of that feedback, hey, let's figure out what exactly are they talking about, because more than likely we can show that it's in the queue. It may not be when they want it to be done, but it's in the process because you all are voting literally monthly on things from 2011. So that would be my response. All right. And so going back, because I still have not heard changes. I know I've had a conversation with Director Webb, and I've talked with you all. Her changes are not going to be seen in what we present. She may or may not make an amendment, and you all have to vote on that. But we all know what her changes are. I know what you all have told me. I think the numbers are where they need to be at this point in time to get things moving for our city and its investment, unless you all have some other changes that I need to go back and work on. And that's being said, going back to Director Peck, this will give all of us an opportunity to share a blueprint with the city from July into November. Because once we know what we got, we can start shelling out even more information. But we got to have that blueprint. And so I would like, again, unless I hear some additional changes, because I know Director Compuers has spoken with many of you all, I think we're pretty set unless there's something new on where we are. But if we want to, if we all agree we can't afford to lose this, we also got to make decisions to put us in the best position to win. And put us in the best position to win is to move forward with the blueprint on July 16th. Director Peck?
Thank you. So would we, not by July 16th, but are you saying between now and the election, in order to sell it, that we would have a blueprint for the sports complexes, where they would be, for Heineman, for War Memorial? I mean, these are the things people are asking about. Would we
Right.
have blueprints for those?
Yes, well, I would say, well, first, we got to help, everyone has to understand this. We got to first get the money. That's number one. So here's the map of the process. This may be better help. We have right now RFQ just to do the planning for the 30 Crossing Park, which everyone's aware of, the 10-acre park. We're using existing funds to get that done. And we strategically did that early because of the downtown master plan, but because we got to start showing people what it will look like. We can't do that right now with our existing budget on everything. Until we start raising some money, there's some things that we can do on the, I say it because Joe's here, we can do on the outside to start showing other schematics, but we can't go have a RFQ process on every park with city funds. We don't have that money, nor do we have the time to go through the procurement process. But there are external forces that can speed that up. So we do know we have 2 places where the indoor sports complex will be. But with anything, we vote every day on things that may be one location, but because of engineering, because of real estate, because of whatever the outstanding factor is, if we got to change, we come back to you. But for right now, the indoor sports complex is going to be downtown. It's going to be somewhere in downtown/east end area behind the Clinton Library and the Heifer Center, where we have land, and we'll move through that process. But we got to start talking to we can't talk to the real estate folks until we got an affirmative from this city board. I nor the acting city manager can go have a whole bunch of conversations if we don't have your backing and your stamp of approval. You give us that ability to call an array of real estate folks to go say, hey, because Director Hines, I'll share my appreciation to you here, is Director Hines has said, yeah, I want the outdoor sports complex to be in West Little Rock, but I myself is having a hard time figuring out, but I do know west of 430, it could be a better option for West Little Rock in the outlets area. Great. So him and Director Wire, because now, and this is unity here, he's in West Little Rock, he's focused on west of 430, whether or not it's in Ward 5. He just pitched a project going to Ward 7 because he knows everybody in West Little Rock goes up and down 430. And so now you got Director Wire who called me last week, said, hey, he's looking at this land, but what about this land? But we can't start doing work until we get the board's approval. Otherwise, we're just talking. And so in the meantime, until we get the board's approval, if I was you and someone asked, the indoor sports complex is going to be downtown. More than likely, it's going to be somewhere behind the Clinton Library in Heifer, or it'll be east of the Simmons building. Those are the only 2 options we're aware of that could do that. So that's number one. Just share for the outdoor sports complex, West Little Rock or west of 430, which would likely be in Ward 7. Near if you're familiar with the Outlet Mall area, there's a lot of land by the Harley-Davidson, some game and fish land, and some other things. That's the location. Hyman Park is being master planned. That also takes money, procurement process that we're working on. That by the time November, you'll have schematics, of course, on that standpoint. What was the other project? I think Hyman.
War Memorial, the sports complex.
Same thing with, yeah. But we're ready to go. And I think once we are unleashed to move forward, we can start getting more. We can only give you so much detail with the money that we have. It's kind of what I'm. But until we get, it's kind of like you can say you want a house until you get your realtor. You go look at the house, then you get your inspection. So that's kind of the process we're in. But we could get started on July 16th, and we can get a lot more information, because you're right, we can't afford to lose it. Director Wyrick?
Thank you, Mayor. One of the things that, and don't kill the messenger here, one of the things that I have to work through all the time is the fact that Southwest Little Rock was annexed in the 80s, and we were promised community centers, fire stations, police substations, sidewalks, drainage corrections, new roads, you know, all parks, all the amenities that you should expect when you're annexed into the city. Fast forward, this is 2024. Some of that has happened, but we still have issues with drainage streets, sidewalks, you know, all those kind of things. And people are saying, okay, why isn't my park being fixed whenever we're going to do the I-30 park? Why did that come before my park? Why are we doing work over on Canis or Chenal, and I'm here in Southwest Little Rock and I can't get this street fixed? So there is I'm with Virgil on, there is a lot of thought out there that Southwest Little Rock has been left behind all these years since the 80s. They talk about they want streets, they talk about they want drainage, they want improvement to their parks, they want code enforcement to do their job, keep the neighborhoods clean, they want their garbage picked up, you know, basic nuts and bolts things. And when we did the sales tax in 2011, 2012, we went to the neighborhoods and we actually specified streets and locations and things that we wanted to have done, which we've not done, but we do have a substantial amount of infrastructure that's in there, and we have beefed up some of the areas that they're talking about. So they're, for the most part, they're all about the parks plans, they're all about the drainage, police, fire, they support all that, but they don't necessarily support the sports arenas. And part of it is because of the specificity of where they're going to be, what they're going to look like, what's the draw, who's going to use them, you know, those kinds of things. And I think that's what Cappy is relating to as well. Now, it perks my interest when somebody says, well, it's going to be in Ward 7. You know, I think that would be a great boost for Ward 7 around the Bass Pro area. That is the central part of the state of Arkansas and possibly Little Rock. So that would be a good place to do that. So more information about those if there's, and I get the part about, well, you can't go out and negotiate for a piece of property if you don't have the money. But if you do write into the ordinance, the resolution, it's going to be in this general area in West Little Rock, Ward 7. It's going to be in this general area, East Little Rock. If we can have some specificity to the locations of those, because everybody that I talk to is on board for, as I call nuts and bolts. They're on board for that. But the sports arenas are the ones that it's a difficult sell.
Right. No, thank you. You and I have talked. There's a great focus. This whole sales tax helps a lot of the areas that you and I and Director Phillips are from in Southwest Little Rock. That's the point of it. Not just Southwest Little Rock, it's for everyone, but it's going to get a lot of attention as well as Midtown's going to get a lot of attention. Downtown's going to get a lot of attention. This is a game changer. And as I've shared with many people, if anybody has seen Oklahoma City and its transformation that started in the mid-90s, they've now had 5 iterations. And this plan is largely mirrors a lot of Oklahoma City's MAPS program. This is where the plan, this is not some cooked up thing. This is something that's been seen, tried and true from that. So I agree with you.
One more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I have to talk about my new area in Ward 7, which is Bowman Road. It needs to be improved. Canis Road needs to be improved. We've had to fuss and fight for traffic lights on Canis Road, and the pavement is still unlevel, unsightly. In Bowman Road, there was a plan that was shown that reflected a new and improved Bowman Road. So we've looked at that. So those kinds of things are important to neighborhoods. I know you made a comment that when they come to the city, they don't look at how pretty the streets are. But that is a part of the equation for people whenever they come to a city to look at the streets, the landscape, how clean it is, you know, those kinds of things. So anyway, I just wanted to add that in there.
No, I'm a big believer in infrastructure. I think what I said is someone's not making the decision on buying a home based off of a pothole, is what I said, not how clean the streets are. And speaking of potholes, well, it's not a pothole, sinkhole. As you know, we're all working on that issue right now with Bowman. I still haven't heard changes to the plan. What I've heard is we gotta get the word out to the people. And until we can't get the word out to the people till we get a blueprint approved from you all. So I will take that. Do you have another question, Director Wyatt?
No, sir. Thank you.
I will take that as a sign that we're at least ready to go have a vote on this next week. Director Wyatt, are you opposed to voting on next week? I want to get us to everybody
I don't
comfortable.
know what it's going to be, but yeah, I'll vote Tuesday. Thank you.
Gotcha. Director Peck, are you ready to vote next Tuesday on it?
I'm ready to vote.
Okay. Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Phillips?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Webb?
And I'll vote, but I'll bring amendments, and if they fail, they fail, but I'm going to bring them, the ones we've talked about.
Yeah, and direct Vice Mayor Webb, we've talked about your proposed amendments. Director Hines?
Sure.
All right. We'll work to get you, and so I've talked to the attorney, city attorney. There'll probably be it'll be 4 items that you're voting on. And so, and
You want the resolution too, then?
yeah, and we'll probably, and Director Webb, because the resolution has, and just, so I want, as you know this, I want to make sure everyone's clear. The 4 votes is 1 to call the election. 1 is for 5H to sunset, the 5H capital project that sunsets in 10 years. The 3H operating that'll be in perpetuity. And then there will be a resolution on the funding items. So Director Webb, what I think is probably best is to discuss the funding items first, and we'll kind of take from a parliamentary procedure, it's really kind of, I'm giving the word that if the voice votes change, it will change the numbers, but because you only can vote for up or down the resolution, but we'll have a discussion on your proposed amendments, and if they theoretically fail, but not in the air and not on paper, then we'll move forward and then just vote on the resolution. Do you copy what I'm trying to explain?
Yes, and I'm on vacation right now, and I'm leaving town, and I will try to have amendments by Monday at some point for people to look at, but I'm not going to promise.
Gotcha.
And also the LRCVB ordinance. Next week, is that what you're?
Yeah, I would like that, yeah. I mean, because it's all tied together, yeah. And the LRC, just for the reminder, the LRCVB ordinance, they've already passed it from their area to do a bond refunding to fix up the amphitheater, which is also part of the downtown master plan. And they want to put that, to call that election before the board. So that's all you'll be voting for. So really it's 5 votes. To call the election for our sales tax, call the election for the LRCVB bond refunding, vote on the 5/8 cents, capital projects that sunsets in 10 years, vote on the 3/8 cents operating projects that go into perpetuity, and then we'll have a discussion first on some potential proposed amendments from Vice Mayor Webb, and then decide if we agree to accept them or not, and then vote on what that resolution would look like. Everyone okay with that process? Director Peck, did you? Okay. All right. One last thing. I didn't want, if we'll first, all right, let's look at something else. Everyone, before we close out again, that we're gonna work doubly hard to get those 5 things done. And I know that's a lot for the city attorney, so he and I, if we need, the goal is to do it on the 16th, but if we need to do a special board meeting on the, no,
They'll be ready.
okay, because I would say then we have to push it to the 30th. Because we're not meeting on the 23rd. If you all remember, we're not meeting on the 23rd. Everybody heard that? Not meeting on the 23rd. So you'll have them ready for those. And then we can start working on the things that we all said we want to work on with this. But what I wanted to do is just, before we adjourn, is have a special moment for Captain Hill, as we all know, transitioned over the weekend, who was a captain within the Little Rock Fire Department. If we all just have a moment of silence. Amen. Meeting adjourned. Yes, ma'am.
I'm getting a lot of calls about semis parked on the street in neighborhoods, parked in driveways in neighborhoods. I've noticed a lot of semis that are parked in various places that didn't seem right. My understanding is if they're parked on the street in a neighborhood, that is a police issue.
Yes.
And if they're parked in a neighborhood driveway, that is a planning zoning issue.
Yes. If you'll give me the addresses, we'll have somebody go out there tomorrow.
Okay. They've already been reported. So, anyway, I just wanted that clarification to make sure that's the process.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, that'll be fun.
No, you're correct. You're correct.
One of